Welcome, fellow last placers, to another episode of LPF Debrief, where today we are going to talk about the movie Jungle Cruise. And if you guys are returning fans to the show, you know that we always shame this one person for not watching things that we normally do. But if you are watching or about to listen, Yendi has officially made an LPF debrief. Give him a round of applause. So our weekly shame or bi-weekly shame, it's not happening today because we do have Yendi today. So I'm excited. We're going to talk about Jungle Cruise. He's excited because if you guys didn't know, he also watched this before Chris and I. So he was super excited about this. And, he kind of put us to a little shame of our own because he watched it before us. So we're going to talk about Jungle Cruise. We're going to have do like we do normally, spoilers, guys. It's going to happen. So if you haven't watched the movie, go watch it. We do recommend it, I think, consensusly, but this is pretty much going to be a debrief of that. So here we go. So Yendi, now that you're here with us, how did you feel about the movie?
Your mic is muted, man.
He's not. He's doing that on purpose.
I
I knew he was doing it on purpose.
always fall for
Suckers.
it. Pissing me
I
off.
knew it.
This is a mistake. Cancel it.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the first episode of LPF Debriefed. This is the
First?
actual official episode now that I'm here.
Okay.
Since just kidding.
We did 6 of these, buddy.
So I absolutely loved Jungle Cruise. I was pleasantly surprised because usually I'm not a Disney person, but like I told these gentlemen earlier, anything with The Rock in it, it's usually a must watch for me, just because of his humor, is just his characters in general are so like I don't want to say heartwarming, but like it's like comfort food, something like that. And him and Kevin Hart are one of my favorite duos, of course. Apparently, people are tired of seeing that duo. I don't know how you could be. That's insane to me. But
They're
yes,
they're jealous of the friendship. They want a friendship like that.
that's what it is. That's what it is.
Everybody
They're
wants a
dynamic,
friendship like
man.
that. Yeah.
They're dynamic. But Jungle Cruise was way better than I even imagined it would be. Like, I knew that it'd probably be good because of The Rock and Emily Blunt, two of my favorite people right there, but it completely exceeded my expectations. And just for some background here, this is something that I started talking about last night during our live show, but my internet went out. And if it does, then it's not. This is not meant to be. I'm never meant to be an LPF debrief. So, for a little backstory here on why I was so excited for Jungle Cruise, when I was when I was younger, anything having to do with the Amazon intrigued me. Like, I always, one of my dreams was to go trek the Amazon jungle. Like,
Hell
everything
no.
about it, everything about it, everything I saw. I watched documentaries with, David Attenborough and stuff like that. And everything was so beautiful in the jungle, green, lush, so many animals and stuff like that. So even as a kid, every time I saw it, my brain just went like, wow, I wish I could be there. So just being called Jungle Cruise automatically said, yeah, I'm going to go watch this. And then The Rock on top of that, and then Emily Blunt, and then being an adventure movie, this was, to me, I'm like, okay, this has to be the closest I'll probably get to an Indiana Jones style movie until the Uncharted movie comes out. And I hope that's good too. But yes, the jokes, the scenery, the CGI, the pacing, costumes. Oh my god, everything was perfect. Everything was like, it came all together to make this awesome adventure. It felt like I was there, and it was everything I wanted it to be and more. And I'm probably gonna watch this again. So yeah,
And
my favorite
Yendi,
movie of the year.
and you're a person who hasn't even been on the ride, so like that's why it's
Right.
really comforting for you to hear something like that because you had like no what is the word, like you had no like preconceptive thing and you still enjoyed it a lot, and I think that's pretty awesome. And I think what they did a really good job at was also the people who have been on the ride, because I know Chris and I, we've both been on the ride, and as soon as The Rock started telling those jokes, we knew exactly what that moment was because and if you go on Jungle Cruise at Magic Kingdom, you guys will know they tell these corny jokes, and they're supposed to be 100% corny. they're dad jokes, they're puns, and they're awful. Like, there's one of the jokes where it's like, if they actually not stole it, but they used it directly from the ride, is when he talks about the backside of water,
Yeah,
because that's like,
that's in
because
the
on
ride.
Disney you go under this the river fall, and then you see, and there's like this amazing special one of a kind thing, the backside of water. And for him to do that joke was a sweet Easter egg for all the people who rode that ride. So I thought that was what they did there was so much fun, and like it gave that benefit if you did ride the ride. But Chris, what was your opinion on it?
I love this movie. Also, we got to get a small little LPF video of Yendi actually riding on the ride.
Yes.
I
And
never.
fun fact for that, sorry Chris, but
Yeah.
fun fact for that, I just ordered my vlog kit, so that will show up on LPF when we do go. So
Dope.
I got a
Nice.
mic and a light and all that good
I'm
stuff.
super excited. I'm super excited. Whenever this past summer was my first time riding Jungle Cruise, I kept going to. I've just been recently going through Disney since I've been working there, and a lot of my friends are like, "Hey, you got to ride this. You got to check this out." And Jungle Cruise came up, and that line always seemed to be long, and somebody got me in, and I rode it at the time. They had like plexiglass, so I couldn't really hear the guy too well, but it was still a great experience. Whenever I got off, I was just like I love corny jokes, and for the biggest joke that the guy said for me, it was like whenever we were all waiting to pull back in, like there's a little bit of a jam. He's like, "Okay, guys, we'll get you guys off in a few minutes," and he's like, "In the meantime, where are you from?" And somebody's like, like Nevada. And he's like, cool, me too. And he's like, "Where are you from?" I'm like, "Oh, Orlando." He's like, "Cool, me too." And then he just kept going through the boat. And I lost it. Every time it caught me off guard. The movie was perfect. I loved it a lot. That opening scene with him talking with the crowd and making the corny jokes, and the crowd like rolling their eyes like, "Oh my God, like somebody stop this guy, please."
Yeah, because there's some people on the ride that actually feel that way too.
Yeah.
They're like, "What am I doing on this corny
Yeah.
ride?" It's a lot of the older crowd. Like the kids usually have issues
Mhm.
because they're like, they don't care for the jokes that much. But the adult, like anytime I'm on that ride, I am like crying of laughter. Anytime.
I thought it was perfect. I'm trying to get Bree to see it. Whenever I was about to watch it, though, there was a lot more pleasant reviews. The ones that were bad were talking about the CG, and I had no problem with it at all. Everything looked great to me.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
One of my Bree hates spiders, so I told her there's quite a few tarantula scenes, but that scene of him rolling around with the jaguar and then rolling to one side, and you see the scorpion come up, and then it rolls to the other side, and then the tarantula has its fangs up coming at him. I was like, man, this looks fantastic. I don't see any issue with this at all.
It did have really good CG in my opinion also.
The movie,
There was nothing to me that CGI wise that stood out that was bad. I thought it was fine.
One of my favorite things, which Yendi, whenever you ride the ride afterwards, I hope you go and watch the movie. The whole time I was sitting in the theater, it was literally they took the whole ride and just stretched it.
They did
super far, and I'm like, and I didn't think they were gonna do that. I was like, okay, we're gonna get a Jungle Cruise story, cool, this is awesome. But whenever I was sitting there, I was like, okay, this is literally the opening of the ride. Okay, we're halfway through the ride. This was literally all in it. It's just like if we were on the ride, they took a pause at a certain section and gave us a small show, and then we went to the next section. That's exactly what it was, and they did a beautiful job of keeping that pace. What else was that I think was insane? It gave me an Uncharted feel. That's what I wanted to say too, because whenever you brought up Uncharted, the fact that it does the treasure hunt, and you're going through and they're looking for this treasure, and then halfway through it switches to the supernatural, and you're like, oh crap, like this is insane. I love those moments. I love those moments where it's just like, hey, they've had enough treasure hunting, let's kick it up a notch, and then now they have this issue that they have to deal with. And the way they introduced it wasn't like I guess you could say like Crystal Skull, where like the aliens show up and you're just like, what the hell just happened here? Like, what? They eased you in and you're like, oh, okay, this is dope. Giving The Rock his background character that I completely shocked me when you find out about I keep forgetting we're doing spoilers anyway, but whenever you find out that he's what was he, like 400 years old?
Yeah.
But whenever he gets stabbed in the chest, and I noticed he wasn't bleeding or anything like that, I was like, in my head I was just like, something's up here, but also it's a Disney movie, but also they're not going to show us a sword through his chest. So I'm like, eh. And so whenever he comes up, he's like, yeah, I'm actually 400 years old. I was like, oh, completely like outfield. I was just like, I did not see that coming at all. Yeah, but the pacing of the story was awesome. I loved it overall. 10 out of 10. I am going to buy the movie when it comes out. And yeah, I will be watching it again. I'm kind of going through this phase of I need a sense of adventure. So after I watched that, I got into the Grand Tour again. I started watching those documentaries. And I'm probably going to go back and watch that Tomb Raider movie that came out a couple months or couple.
It's pretty good.
Yeah,
actually.
I love that movie
has-
too, and I've been
yeah.
meaning to rewatch it, and that's actually really good.
Never seen it.
That one,
The
But-
new one.
put it on your list. You'll like it.
I was gonna say that this movie is the closest we can get to Uncharted movie right now.
Yeah.
Until it actually comes out, because that town, that initial town, looked exactly like something that would be in an Uncharted game. And then, I mean, if the bad guys were mercenaries, you'd not be able to tell the difference between it
the
being
story.
Disney and it being Naughty Dog. You know, so.
I mean,
But
I
yeah,
just
look.
expect when Uncharted comes out to be a little bit more bloodier and stuff like that. But even this movie for me was a little bit graphic because it was PG-13, and that scene at the beginning where I forget the villain's name off the top of my head, but I love that dude too. The dude that was the villain, the German guy.
Oh,
He's
so
not
good. What
actually
else is he
German, but
in?
I forget. He's in one of my favorite movies, which is Game Night. He's the police officer in Game Night. If
I
you
have to
haven't
watch
watched
that.
Game Night,
I have to
go
watch.
watch that
Okay, I'll watch
because
it.
it is also fantastic.
Okay.
But
Yes.
that guy, I want to remember his name. If someone could look it up for me, but he's so good, and he did a really good job at being a villain. And he does like his facial expressions were perfect. He's so good. But when he was, taking out those people when she initially went to go get the key, like
Yeah,
you know
he's
what I
like,
mean?
you
He
said
was,
my
like,
name,
really-
and yeah.
he was really taking people out, and I was like, wait a minute, what is this movie? Because I
Yeah.
thought it was PG, and then it was PG-13. So
Yeah.
they did do a good job at not showing the blood, which goes to your point, Chris, because they use that to their advantage.
Yeah.
So like knowing that it was a Disney movie, knowing that they didn't show blood, you kind of like was like, okay, well they're not showing blood because this is a Disney movie, and then they hit you with the twist, which I thought was really tastefully done because it didn't feel like it was being forced, but it also fits in the world where it makes sense, right? So
Yeah.
like you're dealing with a whole bunch of entities that these things are happening, and you're dealing with something that possibly can cure everything. So to have a supernatural character to me makes a lot of sense, which is why like in Crystal Skull, it was always like, I guess, and I don't really want to do like major comparisons, but like it was always like some crazy, like it was a crazy idea, but then the aliens did feel like they came out of nowhere. But this one was very like, okay, I can totally see
Where
we're in the
it's go-
Amazon.
yeah.
This is you know what I mean. Also, for people who rode the ride, they had Trader Sam in, and if you guys don't know about that, that's another Easter egg because that is actually a bar you can go to in Disney, which is amazing.
Mhm.
Like because it has like a whole scene set, and it has a whole scene set where you buy special drinks, and then they like it's super interactive, and then all these things happen.
That's
So
the
it
place
was
that
really-
I'm pretty sure my buddy Brian was talking about. Like, oh, he got a drink called the Shrinking Head,
Yes,
and
then they
every time he took a sip, the bartender behind the bar would lower his stool, like the seat would go
you
down,
low.
and then he's
It's
all of a sudden he
super
noticed he was like, wait, what's going
Yeah,
on?
it's
So I was,
super cool. If
I
you get,
gotta
like, the
go.
Barracuda, yeah, if you get like the Barracuda, which is this big drink, it's like $75, but it can drink like for like 8 people.
Is this in Disney Springs?
This is in Disney Springs. It's actually at the Hotel the Polynesian.
Yeah.
Yeah, which also has my favorite restaurant there too. But
Is that the Ohana?
Yeah,
I've been trying to get reservations there too.
yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's difficult. Like
4 months
last
out.
time I went, yeah, it was like 4 months out. So Ben and I would like randomly, we're like, oh, we're gonna go in January, and then, like it was like, but it came up quick.
Oh,
But
yeah.
it's totally worth it.
Mhm.
But sometimes you can get up there, and it might be a long wait, but
Yeah.
you get to test it out. But anyway, yeah, so it was really tastefully done. I loved how, like I said, they put all of those Easter eggs from the ride. So like, they had the settlements, they had the animals because the jaguar is on the ride. Like you see him on the ride. So it's like a bunch of cool things that they did, and I think it was a really fun movie, right? So I think Emily Blunt, I mean, it's just fantastic. I can watch Emily Blunt in anything, in everything. She's one of those actresses that if she's in it, I'm going to watch the movie. And I don't do that with a lot of people, but she is one of those who are like, oh, Emily Blunt is doing this, I'm in. Emily Blunt's doing that, I'm in. So She was wonderful in Mary Poppins, even though people like were like, I didn't like that movie. She was great, but she's fantastic in everything she is. I thought she played the whole thing with her not being able to swim was a nice touch also because it's like it brings more like of a danger to the thing because you don't know if she's gonna survive, if she's gonna fall in the water, and then they had that whole cool water scene, and then also the thing that I liked initially towards the middle of the movie is that they didn't force the love relationship. I did have an issue just with the ending, and my only issue with the ending was, uh, and it's not like a major issue. I just feel like if she like there should be some type of consequence, and that's just a personal feeling that like I get why they didn't do it because it's a Disney movie and they don't really want your character to actually die. So like I mean I totally get that,
I
but
also, I mean, I felt that same thing. I felt like whenever The Rock came back, like that big moment of him, like, oh my God, like, and he hugs her and everything. I was thinking, like, I was like, I feel like he should be, I feel like we should get something here where he's just like, what about like the medicine and all this other
yeah,
stuff? Like, you had a goal or something
yeah.
like that. There
That's
wasn't
what
like
I'm
any,
saying.
he was just like, oh yeah, let's do it. Like, I'm okay with it. And I
Yeah,
felt that same thing too. And I was just like, okay,
I
I'm
did.
okay
Yeah.
with this. But at the same time, I thought, like, I also had that feeling of like, I feel like there should be a little bit of an argument here of just
Well,
like,
no, it
hey, you
should have
shouldn't have
been
picked
like,
me.
yeah, it should have been like a sacrifice though.
Yeah,
Like, I don't think she should have been able to get both. Like, you know what I mean? If you wanted a sacrifice for love, like I would understand. Like, okay, you felt like you were, this is a person you wanted to be with, but also your goal was to protect, like, save other people.
yeah.
So, especially after watching, because I just recently watched Old, and it kind of has an interesting like plot twist thing like that. So I feel like it's you suffer no consequences, right? It's just like happy ending, which again, Disney, so it's kind of expected. But that was like my only issue with the movie. I thought it was super entertaining. For 2 hours and 9 minutes, it didn't feel like it was
No,
that
it went
long.
by really
You know what I
fast.
mean? It was really quick. I didn't feel like we ever had dull moments in the movie, which is something that I cannot stand when a movie just feels like it's dragging. And for that
Hmm.
movie to be based off of that little ride and to be stretched out for 2 hours, I think Disney did a fantastic job at that. So for me
Yeah.
personally, besides the ending, which is like a small criticism, it's not a major one. I thought the movie was excellent. I'm interested to see what else because now they're just making movies on all the rides now because this started back when Pirates, because if everyone remembers, Pirates is actually a ride at Disney, and then Pirates of the Caribbean came. So like everyone was like, "Oh, this is their first one." I was like, "No, Pirates was totally their first one." So like they've been doing this for a while. So and from what I heard, they're gonna have other movies like I think they're making like a Space Mountain movie. They're making like a bunch of I think a bunch of rides. So I'm interested to see.
Everest will be a cool one.
Everest would be dope
Yeah,
because
Everest is gonna be dope. Yeah.
there's a story there. So yeah, the movie itself, like I said, was fantastic. Yendi, what was your favorite part of the movie?
Well, first, as a testament to how good it was, and being 2 hours and what 9 minutes you said
Yeah.
or something like
Hmm.
that, we took Avery. It was me, Avery, and Anna. And usually she tunes out if the
Gets
movie gets
antsy.
too boring.
Yeah.
But the entire time she was just fixated on it. She was
Hmm.
enjoying it too. Granted, she had a lot of candy and popcorn, but she was actually focused on the movie and she loved it. So that goes to show a lot there because a movie that's that long, once it drags, I'm out. Like
Yeah.
that's it. My attention is gone. You lost me, but it kept me on the whole time.
And I
Uh,
mean, her having candy should have been something that would have distracted her more.
Yeah.
So like the fact that she did stay
right.
was even better. Like
Yeah.
yeah.
It's rare that we get to see a movie all together
Hmm.
that she actually watches too, because
Yeah.
very rare. But
Hmm.
my favorite part of the movie, the whole everything having to do with the town. I
Yeah.
loved the scenery. I loved it. I know that most of it was CGI, but everything in that river area where the town was just gave me so much uh Indiana Jones and Uncharted vibes, which I absolutely love, and just being in the Amazon,
Hmm.
it's perfect. I really like the underwater city scene,
Yeah.
right? Well, when they drain it,
Yeah.
seeing how grand it is and all that, and everything in that happened inside with the big tree. Um, man, I don't think there was any part of the movie that I was like, this kind of sucked, or
Yeah.
everything. I liked every part of it, man. There's just nothing that I can pinpoint that I didn't like. Everything was just so good to me. It just added to the adventure, and I felt like I was, you know,
In there.
like yeah, I was
Yeah.
excited to see what was around the next corner. Like, oh, what's gonna happen next? You know, I'm at a loss for words. How much I actually enjoyed the movie, and I'm not somebody that watches movies more than once, unless it's, these. Uh, but I am definitely considering going again, buying a ticket, or just buying it off Disney Plus and
There you
watching
go.
it at
Yeah.
home. So
Yeah. It's not a
that goes
bad
to
deal, you
say
know?
something.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear that.
Let's just say that Uncharted has big
Some
shoes to fill,
competition.
and so does Indiana Jones, if that ever
Yeah.
comes out next
I
year.
mean, it's on track so far. So.
Well, Harrison just got hurt
Oh,
because
did he?
Yeah,
Well, never mind.
yeah.
he's also 80 years old, which
It's
and they
supposed to
have
come
him
out.
in an
It's supposed to
action
come out
movie.
the date after my birthday next year.
Did they drop another
Oh
door on him?
no, I don't know what happened this time, but
Okay.
I mean, he's just. I mean, it's the dude is 80.
Yeah.
Like I mean, he has to he has to retire at some point.
It's gonna be a sad day when Indiana Jones gets replaced. I don't want to see fucking what's his name?
Tom Holland?
What's the guy's? I don't want to see Tom Holland take over everything.
See, here's the thing, and from a person who loves Tom Holland, we have to stop casting Tom Holland as
And
the young everything. He cannot be the young everything. Like there is other people who can fit those roles. And
'Cause-
like I said, I love Tom Holland. Like
yeah, me
he's a
too.
great actor. He's amazing at all this stuff. But even him, I'm pretty sure he's like, yo, you guys can't young Nathan Drake, a younger Peter Parker. Like he's always just a young character in all these movies. And like we have
And
to
you know,
stop.
if they keep the series alive, they're gonna go back to a young Indiana Jones. They
Of
have
course,
to.
of course,
That's
they
the
have
next
to.
logical step, right?
Well, if
Because
you
they
want to
only
make
had
more movies, you know.
exactly.
Yeah, so
And
you have
then
to get the younger ages people. So I love Tom Holland, but they have to stop with this. So,
Yeah.
Chris, what was your favorite part of the movie?
Favorite part of the movie is when they get captured by, later on you find out that Frank is in on it. And
Yeah.
I forgot I wish I remember what corny joke he said right there. But she's like, Frank, seriously. And he's like, I can't turn it off.
Yeah.
I was like- and
It's just like he
also,
constantly
yeah,
having to
also
tell those
shout
jokes.
out to my boy, Paul Giamatti, because I did not expect him to be in the movie. I didn't see trailers or
Yeah.
anything like that. I don't know if he was in the trailers. But when he showed up, I was like, yes! I was so happy to see him. So like,
Yeah.
I love that guy, man. That guy cracks me up, and the little Brazilian accent that he tried to have.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm gonna own all the boats and all this other stuff. And whenever he's yelling, like whenever his place gets blown up, and he's like, "Front!" Like the classic yell he has. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just like, man,
his
this
character.
is
Yeah.
so good. It just took me back to Big Fat Liar and everything like that. So.
I mean, that's another dude that just fantastic.
Yeah.
When he can
Straight out
play
of
so many
Compton.
roles. He has
so good.
he has fun playing those roles, and it's just he's a very fun person. Like, and he's a guy you could totally root for, right? So
Yeah.
it's like this dude that just that he shows up in these movies that you've seen him in some movie, whether it's a good movie, whether it's a bad movie, whether it's an excellent movie, he's just there. So it was nice to see him in that movie and play that role. I would say my favorite part, I don't think it was like a section, but I did really enjoy that when they get to the tree and that running scene when she's basically like running from everything. And like it's just and which is why I found it interesting that there's reviews that people said it didn't look good. Like it looked fantastic to me.
Mhm.
Like the colors, the tree looked great. When the city revealed itself, it also looked great. I didn't personally see any issues. Like I don't think it was any worse than anything. Like it wasn't like the worst CGI I've ever seen. So I think like what I mean, I didn't think it was anything crazy that was bad. Maybe I would see it in a second watching, but at first glance, everything to me looked really clean, really like subtle. It didn't really look like still looked like the real world, which is what you want in CGI. Like I didn't feel like they were walking on a CGI planet, like or things like that. So I don't that I don't get at all. But yeah, when she was running for the flower, it was a lot. I thought it was cool because of the way that the camera shots, because that was another thing that was really well done in this. The camera angles and the shots really put you into that world, like Andy said. So you felt very immersed because it wasn't like super close camera shots, but it also made it feel like they were doing their stunts, which is something I always like when you show enough front camera. in action scenes, you kind of forget that they're not doing some of these scenes, right? Because when The Rock was fighting, he actually is fighting in those shots. So when they do a far away camera of him jumping or something like that, you still think it's him because your brain kind of tells you, "Oh, I've seen his face so much." You know what I mean? It's not like Black Widow scenes where like Scarlett Johansson's not in the movie and you can totally tell it's not her doing it. So I do appreciate when they can do camera work that kind of masks them having stunt doubles. So I thought that they did that really, really well. Also, camera shots were amazing. Like Yendi said, I didn't really find anything that was too crazy, like that I didn't enjoy about this movie. And this was a movie that completely came out of left field for me because I was not expecting to enjoy it. Like I said yesterday, was like it was a movie I didn't know I wanted, and I love when movies like that happen because you really go in with no expectation, and those are the best when you no expectation and the movie just knocks it out of the park. So I think this movie
I went into it and I overhyped the hell out of this movie to myself.
really,
I overhyped it so much. You could
yeah,
ask Anna. I was like, "Are
yeah.
you ready to go on an adventure today?" Like
Jeez.
I got so excited for it without even knowing what to expect. I didn't
Yeah.
read any reviews or see the trailers or anything. I just knew that it was they had the word jungle in it and cruise, and I'm like, okay, I'm in. And it had the rock done. I overhyped the hell out of it, and usually that's a recipe for disaster, right? Because you'll get disappointed most of the time, but
Yeah.
it lived up to every single expectation I had.
I have a question for you guys since you guys both said you didn't see the trailer. Did you, because as a person who does not watch trailers to movies that I know I'm going to watch, did you find yourself enjoying it more because you didn't watch the trailer, or did you feel like you should have watched the trailer? Like, I'm just curious.
My memory is so short
Uh-huh.
that I can watch a trailer and
And
forget
forget.
everything about it.
I'm with Yendi on that one too. Like I kind of like
Really?
I get the I'll get the premise. I'm just like okay,
Mhm.
cool, but I'm good to go. But yeah, I mean, I felt like I enjoyed it a lot more. I like going into movies not knowing anything, because
Mhm.
nowadays the trailers just show way too much, man.
I mean, especially for
Yeah,
comedies.
that
'Cause me personally, I think comedies are just. I don't even think like I get why you show a trailer, right?
Yeah,
Because you want to market it and get people in. But I feel like for comedies, especially ones that only have like their best jokes and they put it in the trailer, I feel like you have nothing to look forward to if you watch a trail like a comedy trailer. So like for me,
yeah.
I tend to. I don't watch trailers to anything I know I'm going to see, and I don't watch trailers to comedies because I don't want those jokes. I don't want to hear. I want to laugh at those jokes when I'm in the theater and not when I'm on the
Mhm.
trailer. Like I don't need any more reason to go watch these movies. So I just thought it was interesting because you guys, I know you
It,
guys do watch trailers. So
yeah,
it's for the same reason that I don't like to read movie reviews because I
mhm.
like to make my own opinions. And I wish I could do the same thing with games.
Yeah,
I'm really bad at reading reviews for games, and if it's got a bad review, I'll never touch it.
yeah,
And there've been times where I've bought games that have been so good to me personally. I'm like, why does this get a bad score? So
mm,
that's why I don't read reviews for movies. And I mean, I'll watch a trailer every now and then, and sometimes it'll actually help. It'll help me get to see what kind of movie it is, what kind of feel they're going for, because you
yeah.
can tell a lot by the trailer,
Hmm.
the atmosphere, the acting, stuff like that, scenery. It's just, but yeah, I guess I can say I'm glad I didn't watch it
Yeah.
or didn't read reviews because I mean, yeah, it was great. It was great. If I, I, I was trying to think like who could have replaced The Rock as a skipper, who would have
Yeah.
been a good enough skipper that wasn't The Rock?
I
Because
mean,
if you think about
maybe
it, he
Chris,
kind of looks out of place
maybe
a little
Chris
bit.
Pratt,
Chris Pratt.
maybe for
the thing
corny
is, it.
joke's sake. But other than that, I think he
I
did
mean,
great.
for that role, because the thing is, I get what you're saying because it's not like your average skipper, but like he's not supposed to be your average skipper for that movie, right? So like I
Mm,
feel like it's supposed to be someone like The Rock because it's like a guy who has enough charisma to where you're going to laugh, right? But like if some stuff goes down, he still needs to be able to fight. So
Yeah,
I feel like
yeah.
the role that they set for that was made for The Rock because as a huge Rock fan since wrestling days, because this is my reason for always watching The Rock is because I watched The Rock since he was a wrestler. And if you even want to go further back than that, I was literally watching The Rock not knowing when he used to play football for the University of Miami. which is my college football team. So, so to see this guy's career go to where it has, especially as entertaining as he is as a wrestler, and has how great with the microphone he was. Like he was always such a good character. Like he always made the most out of these characters. So I will watch any Rock movie just cuz for what he did for me as a wrestling fan. I will always back the Rock up. I don't care what anyone says. If it's a movie, like I've watched the Fast and Furious movies only because the Rock was in it, not by choice.
Yeah.
Like the Rock was in it, I was like, I'm gonna go. I seen San Andreas. There's not a Rock movie I have not watched because that's like the value that he holds. You know what I mean? And sad enough, there was the old job that I used to work at. Literally, like 4 months after I moved, that he actually was at my job, and one of my good friends actually got to meet him. And I was like, well, that's a good thing I wasn't there because I would have freaked out. And I would have started being like, because like I go back to those wrestling days. Anytime I think about The Rock, I just think about the wrestling days, and I think about like, if do you smell what The Rock is cooking? Like I think about those days.
The
and
eyebrow,
like,
the look.
yeah, and as a fan of that, like you literally, it's called marking out when like wrestling fans, that's wrestling terms, but like I would mark out if I saw The Rock because it would bring back that wrestling, oh my god, it's The Rock kind of thing. So
10 out of 10. This is a movie of the year for me so far. Until Shang-Chi comes out, I have high hopes for that one right now. But for so far, this is my favorite movie that I've seen this year. Also, how long do you guys think until The Rock does a surprise Skipper on the ride?
I don't think he's gonna. You know what?
I don't think he'll be like the actual like person operating. I think he'll be like next to him.
No, I think he
What,
can.
what,
Like yeah,
what do you mean
but
by surprise?
So,
it'll
so
show
Johnny
randomly?
Depp. So
Yeah.
it's known that Johnny Depp used to
Yeah.
go into the Pirates of the Caribbean ride and take place of the animatronic. People would,
animatronics.
and people would look and be like, "Man, that looks legit," and it was actually him, just like messing
Him.
around.
So
He would dress
it
up
was
as Jack
staged.
Sparrow. Yeah, well,
he wouldn't just randomly do it himself, right? It was
no,
like,
no, yeah.
no,
The
no,
company
prepared.
knows. Yeah,
Yeah.
they put him in there, and they're like, "Hey, don't leave this spot." It's a whole safety thing. They have to make sure he's safe and everything like
Yeah.
that. He does his thing, and people don't. He doesn't say a word. Nobody says
Yeah.
anything. You just start seeing like, wait a minute, and then word starts to come out. Then the ride gets packed with people.
Yeah.
As soon as it gets packed with people, he's out. That's
Yeah.
it. As soon as people start to realize it's him, he's gone.
Yeah.
And it's one of those special moments where it's just like, wow, man.
It would be
But-
awesome because that he could totally do it, and it could. But the thing is, it would be for that one cruise. You just
Yeah,
do
yeah,
it,
he couldn't
and
do
if
it
you're
for all.
lucky
Yeah.
enough, because, and I mean, it's tough for those guys to do that because The Rock is one of those dudes who are super busy. Like he works, like he puts in the work. He does a lot of work.
Mhm.
So, but I think it would be dope if one day he just jumped in, like learned how to operate the ride, and then he just did it one skip, and then one journey, and then he's out. Like that, I think
So
that'd be
cool.
like a really cool moment to have. To like you show up and it's like, oh snap, it's The Rock. But I mean, those kind of things can be expected too, because they do tend to go back and do stuff like that.
Yeah.
So who knows, right? Who
Yep.
knows? But yeah, so I think that's pretty much it for this one. Yendi, thanks for joining
Thanks
us
for stopping by,
on this
man.
and for this adventure. And we're going to take you on Jungle Cruise. So now, once you make sure we take you on Jungle Cruise before you go watch it again, because then I think you'll have a greater
You'll
appreciation
be like, oh wait.
for the jokes. Yeah, and then you'll notice some things that you probably didn't. So I definitely want to do that with you. We'll definitely have that on video form for sure, because once I get this kit, I'm not playing around. I'm recording most of my stuff because I didn't just buy it to not use it. So I got to get better at that myself. So yeah, that's gonna be it for this one. Next week we are going. We're actually gonna be we're gonna have a couple of debriefs because we're gonna have Suicide Squad, which once Chris and I record it, we're gonna put it out, and then next week starts on Thursday. Next week Wednesday starts What If with Agent Carter. So we're gonna have those 10 episodes coming out every week. So be on the lookout for Debrief, and then there's a bunch of movies coming out in between that. So if we
So
catch
much
the
content.
movies and stuff like that, we are just gonna drop it and do them. So thank you guys for joining us. If you haven't already, like, subscribe, do all that stuff because it helps the algorithm. But until the next time, Fire Team,